Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Author Journey. My name is CJ Anaya, and I'm so happy that you are here trying to learn about writing, marketing, and self publishing. I received another great question on Quora today. The person who wrote the question remains anonymous. We will call him Bob. Bob wanted to know how he could write a good book or a decent book. That is such a loaded question. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Well, I do know where to begin, but it's like it's one broad suggestion that could be broken down into so many things. I mean, it's just, it's a huge online course that you could take. But just to at least give Bob and anyone else wondering this same question, where to start. A good starting point is outlining. And for all of you pantsers out there who are protesting the notion of having to actually sit down and outline a decent book, I'm not saying that it is impossible to write a decent book without outlining. I'm just saying that for me, outlining is really the way that something that has helped me to write a good book. Because for those of you who are new, let me explain the difference between a pantser and a planner. A pantser is someone who just sits down and writes. They don't have a plan. They just let the book flow organically, and that works for some authors, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for planners, those are people who outline the heck out of their books to the point where they will outline a scene, or they will outline dialogue, or just like the very details, that they really get detail in that. And then there is some middle ground. I find that I am a bit of a middle grounder. I do like to outline a book in just very generally at first. Like, I know where my middle is, the beginning, the middle, and the end. I have an idea of how that's going to go, so I'll write that down. And then when it comes to outlining, what I will do is I will get note cards, and I will write down a scene that definitely has to happen within the book, and I'll just write that down on a note card. And I know that this is like super old school. You could totally do this on a computer, but I like to hold note cards in my hand. I just like to write them and like stick them on a noteboard, or just stick them in front of me on the table. So usually when I start thinking about a book, I don't necessarily just sit down and start writing it. I will let ideas percolate for a while. And I will think, okay, well, this is the objective. This is what she or he wants. This is what she or he needs. These are a few of the obstacles that are going to be in the way of her getting what she wants, or of him getting what he wants or needs. And so, I will make several note cards of scenes that need to happen that will either take that person towards that goal of accomplishing that goal, or take that person further away from that goal. What obstacles are they running into? And so I just write a bunch of different notes down of different things that could possibly happen, and just set them down, and I'll collect those over the next week or so, just thinking about things, and while I'm doing that, I'll think about the characters. I'll think about, their motivations, their actions, their backstory, make more notes and write it down until I have enough information that I can actually organize it into a rough outline. And it's not a terribly detailed outline, but it's enough for me to get started. And so something that makes a book good or makes a book decent is a book that has a very clear goal, very clear want, or a very clear goal for the protagonist to accomplish. A book that has lots of conflict, whatever is going to conflict with that goal and prevent them from accomplishing it. Okay, we thrive on conflict. We love it. It's just so interesting. It's what pushes that story forward. So make sure that there's a lot of obstacles in there, and what there is resolution towards the end, so that's very satisfying. We also need to make sure that the villain is there. He doesn't have to be clear cut, or whatever the villain represents. Okay, sometimes the villain isn't necessarily a person. It could be someone's own demons. It could be someone's own insecurities. So make sure that is clear and present as well. And then make sure that when it comes to the plot line, that you actually have one. And that plot line is consistent, and there are no holes. Okay, so you don't want any plot holes in the book. You don't want to have some reader go to the end and think, now wait a second, this couldn't have possibly happened because this and this is here, or you left a gaping hole here and there's no explanation for how you got from point A to point B. So watch for plot holes, because those are no bueno. You need to get rid of those. And then if you introduce a couple of secondary characters that are a little quirky or a little fun or lovable or endearing, or, that you want to kill, some emotion that it evokes that keeps you reading more, that also helps to create a great book. And make sure that if they do have a subplot that is tied to that secondary character, that you're able to weave it in so that it is not convoluted, but that it makes sense and it flows with the story. Usually with romance books, just straight romance, the plot is, how are the two people going to get together, just as an example. So you've only got one major plot, and maybe you have like a jealous girlfriend coming in as an obstacle to try to stop you, but a lot of times you don't bring her in as a secondary character and give her a huge subplot either, unless you want to make the book complicated. Save that for future books. When you've got a couple books under your belt, you can add more plot lines and subplots, as you go. So that's that. You want to make sure all of those things are in your outline so that you have an idea of those, just the components of what is going to make your story successful. But as far as making sure that it is truly successful, you need to learn the fundamentals of writing a book. You need to learn the technical aspects of it, and that would take a very long time to get through. And so I suggest that not only do you learn how to outline, but that you learn how to create compelling characters, that you learn how to create very interesting plots, that you learn and understand plot twists, that you learn how to take away low tension and up the stakes so there is higher tension, that you understand pacing and just the way that the book should be organized. So as you can see, there are a lot of key components that go into that. But your first step, I think, is just getting an idea and outlining that story. And also, learning these fundamentals along the way. So I hope that it seems like a lot that I just threw at you. It's very broad, very general. But, just if you haven't already learned how to write, then I think the first thing you should do is just sit down and outline it. Just write down your ideas. Get all of those ideas out there. And while you're doing that, grab some books on writing. Or take a few online courses that will teach you how to write, that will teach you specific aspects of writing that, when combined, help you to create a decent book, because there's just a lot of moving parts that go into all of it. But for sure, start writing, start outlining. Make sure you've got those ideas down and they're very clear so that you can go from there. For those of you who are pantsers, or who just really like to fly by the seat of your pants and you don't have a plan, that's okay. I don't recommend it, just because I've done it both ways, and I had to do so much rewriting when I started writing without a plan. The rewritings were just hellish. It was very difficult to have to go back and rearrange scenes and fix everything. So it ended up, making the writing a little bit harder. It created a lot of work for me. This is a personal opinion. I know that pantsing does work for some people, and even when they do have rewrites, they're not horrible. And I think those people are amazing, because somehow they're just able to get organized in their brain and just let it flow. But I have found that outlining is going to be much, much easier in the long run, and cause less work for you in the long run. And you'll find that book flows so much easier, and you're not dealing with writer's block, because you've outlined the book so well, where it's going, and you have all those moving parts in there. So that is my suggestion for writing a decent, good, brilliant, wonderful book. Let's not just go for good and decent. Let's go for fantastic here. Okay, that's step one of accomplishing that, I think, or definitely part of it, a big part of it. So I hope that helps you, Bob, anonymous guy or girl. It could have been a girl, Bobette. And we'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye-bye.